Being by far the finest military system in the world today, the US military has few, if any, weaknesses, and in many areas, from naval warfare to precision strike capabilities, air power, intelligence and reconnaissance and special operations, these troops are in a league of their own. But do you truly want to discover what makes them so unique? Yes, here we are with the top 10 things about the military history of the United States of America that you never knew. Let's start with number 10, the swastika patch. For the first 15 years of its existence, men of the 45th Infantry Division proudly wore an ancient American Indian emblem of good luck known as the swastika on their left shoulder. The emblem was designed to honor the large number of Native Americans who proudly served in the 45th Infantry Division. The yellow swastika on a red square backdrop represented the Spanish heritage of the 45th's four southwestern states: Oklahoma, New Mexico, Colorado, and Arizona. In the late 1920s, the Nazi Party adopted a similar emblem, and when the NSDAP rose to power in 1933, the image became so firmly identified with German National Socialism that it had to be abandoned as the 45th Infantry Division's badge. Division personnel wore no badge for many months, while the concept for a new symbol was being researched. Many concepts were submitted to the 45th Infantry Division's contest to help in the selection of the new emblem. The competition was reviewed by a board of officers who ultimately decided that the Thunderbird would become the 45th Infantry Division's new emblem. In line with the previously established tradition, it was also agreed to preserve the original emblem's color and style. Number 9. Who mapped America? You see, the Army attracted a lot of attention after Thomas Jefferson was elected president in 1800. Jefferson was both determined to maintain peace with the Indians and enthralled with the Western expedition. Jefferson chose the Army to explore the Louisiana Territory after purchasing it on April 30, 1803. It was no coincidence that the new nation and its president chose the Army for this critical assignment. Soldiers possessed the courage, teamwork, discipline, and training required to withstand the challenges of the mission. Even in 1803, the Army had a countrywide structure and hence the capability to offer the necessary tactical and logistical assistance. Perhaps most importantly, the Army was already producing commanders with character and vision, such as Captains Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. The historic Lewis and Clark expedition was perhaps the Army's finest triumph under the Jefferson presidency. From the summer of 1803 to the fall of 1806, the expedition was a military operation known officially as the Corps of Volunteers for Northwestern Discovery. For the first time, it took Americans across the wide continent. Its scientific agenda returned priceless data on flora, wildlife, hydrology, and topography. Its good intentions resulted in peaceful trade with Indians encountered along the way. Overall, the expedition was a great display of America's capacity for growth and creating goods. Number 8. The military was the final service branch to adopt an official song. Yes, as we said, the American military service branch was the last to adopt an official song. The official song of the United States Army, "The Army Goes Rolling Along," is sometimes known as the Army Song. It is an adaptation of an older piece named U.S. Field Artillery March. Now, moving on, we have number 7, presidents who served at the Army. Well, don't be surprised. It's true that even the American president came from a military background, and that too, an astounding number of 26. The majority of America's presidents were veterans when they were elected. 26 of our 44 American presidents were military personnel. Presidential veterans were frequently associated with America's war adventures. Prior to World War II, the bulk of our presidents had served in the Army. Our 9th president, William Henry Harrison, began his military career at the age of 18, enrolling 80 men from the streets of Philadelphia to serve in the Northwest Territory. Civil War veteran Ulysses Grant received national recognition for his military service as well. Grant was a West Point graduated who served in the Mexican War, but it was his cool, steely leadership of Union forces during the Civil War that won Lincoln's trust. In the post-war period, the Civil War produced 7 veteran presidents, all of whom had served in the Union Army. Number 6. Washington crossing the Delaware. This turning point in the American Revolution, immortalized in an Emmanuel Lutz painting, was a crucial victory for General George Washington during the war for the colony's freedom. However, its artistic representation, which is common in classrooms across the country, does not give the entire tale of what transpired that chilly December day. The guy waving the flag with the future President George Washington in the iconic artwork is future President James Monroe. Number 5. Army astronauts. The United States Astronaut Badge is basically a badge presented by the United States to military and civilian persons who have finished training and successfully completed a spaceflight. A civilian astronaut badge is also provided to those who work as specialized in spaceflight missions for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It is the United States military's least awarded qualifying badge. Did you know that? To obtain an astronaut badge, a member of the United States Air Force, Navy, or Marine Corps must complete all required training and engage in a space trip more than 50 miles above the Earth. Officers who have orbited the Earth have received the badge from the United States Army. In the 1960s, the US Department of Defense issued astronaut badges to military and civilian pilots who flew aircraft more than 50 miles above the ground. Number 4. How big exactly is the American military? Well, let me give you an idea. If the Army were a city, it would be the 10th biggest city in the country. Cool, eh? Number 3. How much land does the military own? The military owns so much land that it would be greater than Hawaii and Massachusetts combined if it were a state. The United States spends an astounding amount of money on its military, and that's approximately $778 billion each year. Furthermore, the United States military owns, leases, or administers an outstanding real estate portfolio with structures valued at $749 billion and a land area of 26.9 million acres, 98% of which is situated in the United States. Number 2. How much fuel do you think the military takes a day? Last year, the US Army's energy expenses were over $4 billion, with gasoline accounting for almost 70% of that total. During World War II, it needed 1 gallon of fuel every day to support 1 soldier on the battlefield. Today, we utilize more than 22 gallons of water for each soldier every day. Today's infantry platoon of 30 soldiers carries approximately 400 pounds of batteries to power their equipment for a 72-hour deployment. We have 1.1 million soldiers and over 400,000 civilians and outsourced personnel. And you can guess how big it is. Number 1. Old Guard. Ever heard of it? The 3rd United States Infantry Unit, sometimes known as the Old Guard. This is the oldest regiment in the regular United States Army. It is most recognized today for its ceremonial responsibilities at Arlington National Cemetery. Although the regiment dates back to the early days of the Republic, the Old Guard was founded in 1784 as the first American regiment under Lieutenant Colonel Josiah Harmer's leadership. It fought in the Ohio frontier operations of 1790 and 1791 under Harmer. It was known as the 1st Sub-Legion from 1792 and 1795, and it played an important part in Major General Anthony, Mad Anthony, Wayne's triumph at Fallen Timbers in 1794. The unit was renamed the 1st Infantry a year later, and spent the following 17 years in border service. Throughout the War of 1812 and 1813, the 1st Infantry served on the Canadian-Michigan border. It battled along the Niagara River in 1814. The 1st gave critical flank assistance for Brigadier General Winfield Scott's 1st Regular Brigade at the Battle of Lundy's Lane on July 25, 1814. So, when coming to the end of today's episode, despite numerous squabbles among scholars over various issues, most main parts of US defense strategy are on a pretty firm foundation. Anyway, this status is unlikely to alter very soon, given the United States defense spending is 3 times that of its nearest rival, China, and accounts for roughly 1/3 of all global military expenditures, with another third coming from US allies and partners. Anyways, what do you think of these 10 facts? Do mention your views in the comments section below. Anyways, we'll meet again in the next episode. Until then, bye.